name is Jill Newton, and I'm going to be entering my sophomore year at Texas A&M.
Hi, my name is Jack, and I'm an incoming freshman at A&M.
Hi, my name is Gage Hutch, and I will be doing my sophomore year at Texas A&M.
Hi, I'm Emma Ayler, and I'm a junior at Texas A&M.
Hi, I'm Phoebe Tucker, and I'm a sophomore at Texas A&M.
Going into it as a high schooler with no, college experience, there's a whole lot of unknowns about, college in general and, what it's going to be like. And so Impact definitely answered a lot of questions for me. And a big thing for me was, finding a community and finding a good, solid friend group. And so, going into that week with people that I didn't know kind of, shadowed a lot of what college is going to be like for me. With going into classes with people that I've never met before and finding my own community. And so that whole week was kind of like a, just kind of like a foreshadowment of, what this year is going to be like and what my next 4 years are going to be like, finding my group and finding my friends.
I was part of the youth group at FPC the entire time that I was in high school and middle school, but I never really found that tight-knit community. And so when I got to college, I attended something called Impact, and it's basically just the first glimpse of the church in Bryan and College Station. And so that really just got me really excited for the community that I could find in College Station. And so I joined an organization called FLIC, and it stands for Freshman Leaders in Christ. And that is genuinely how I met some of the most God-fearing people that I know and some of my closest friends. And I think it's super important to find that community and get plugged into a church early on when you get to college, because there will be so many worldly distractions, and FLIC and my church truly helped me just stay on the right path, and they held me accountable, and it was awesome.
For me, it was, I didn't really know how to go about it, but the best thing I found was to get plugged into a church that I felt like brought me closer to the Lord, and that was First Baptist Bryan. And I felt like just having good community, going to 127, which is their college ministry, and just getting plugged in with fellowship was so inspiring. You got to see a great group of guys that leading you to the Lord, and also just having the opportunity to go on Sunday nights and just to glorify the Lord and to learn more about Him.
Yeah, we both go to FBC Bryan and go to 127. I think it was really cool to just feel like we belonged in a space where we had never been before, and it just seems so natural and real to be with just a community of fellow believers, and to be brought in with just welcoming arms, I think. So I'm very privileged and very grateful to be at a church up there. So yeah.
So first going into college, for me, I didn't find any community right away, and that was really hard, and that really deterred me in my faith as well. And that was a hard semester for me. It was really tough, but start of the spring semester, I was determined to make my faith my own for the first time. And I got involved in CBL, Christian Business Leaders, and it genuinely changed my life and showed me a lot of community that I'd never been exposed to before, because I'd never seen people be so vulnerable and authentic in their faith and just be so proud of who they were in Christ. And so that really showed me that there is something that I hadn't experienced before that was so beautiful, and that's from the Lord.
One way that I've seen the Lord working through my generation has been through my organization at A&M, Freshman Leaders in Christ. I've just never seen a group of people my age so hungry for the Lord and for the gospel, and so willing to serve the community and serve each other. It's just truly been life-changing, and so really encourage y'all to find community. The way I've seen God working through people younger than me was through Impact, because I was actually able to be a counselor and just able to pour into incoming freshmen at A&M and Blinn. And I can just tell how hungry they are for the Lord and how much they need to hear the truth of the gospel. And so it's just awesome to already see God working through them, and they haven't even gotten to College Station yet.
Yeah, I agree. I also did Impact, and so I was able to see freshmen as well, and just it was so encouraging knowing that a lot of them didn't want to be there at first, and then they went and saw a glimpse of people not that much older than them in age, and then them taking their faith so seriously and just it being their anthem of their life. And that is was definitely life-changing for a lot of people. And so that's how I've been seeing it move in the incoming freshman class. And for the older generations, I see it very easily displayed in my church, Salt City. They do really well at discipling at each level. And so leaders in the church are being discipled and poured into, and the people who are leaders are pouring into people beneath them. And I have an opportunity to be a small group leader this year. And so I'll be mentoring people beneath me and people newer in their faith. And that's an awesome opportunity to do that. And so it's a really beautiful demonstration about how others are constantly pulling each other up and calling each other higher.
So I got the opportunity to lead at Teos, and most of our work is more behind the scenes, and we're serving and not really seeing maybe the spiritual aspect of it entirely. But when we get to talk to the kids and kind of ask them questions about what they've been learning, those are really fruitful conversations. And just saying that our work is still setting the stage for Jesus to transform lives, which is our motto, I guess you could say. I think something that our generation, how I've seen God in our generation, moving in our generation, He's just been giving us a heart to evangelize. And I think, especially at A&M, that's something that I see a lot. And I think it's important because we do have such a hunger for something that is bigger than us and something that actually means something. Especially when each person has this void with just by themselves, they can't fill that just by themselves. They can't satisfy that just by themselves. And so God is that answer. And I think every person is looking for that. And that's why I think it's really important to keep that evangelism just thriving in our generation.
So I had a privilege and honor to also work at a summer camp called T-Bar-M in New Braunfels, and I worked at the base camp, which is the younger kids, so 1st through 6th graders. A bunch of the kids I had week 6 were really devoted to the Lord, and one of them asked me how to pray one night, and it was so cool to see the younger generation to want to follow Jesus and have the desire to go out and to see Him and to seek Him.
I got the privilege and opportunity to work at Camp Teos alongside Jill, actually. And so growing up as a kid in church at First Baptist, you got to see a whole lot from the kids' point of view. And so this summer I got to see from the other perspective of, like Jill said, working behind the scenes and seeing these kids grow in their faith. And so in a world right now where the truth is so, all over the place online and with social media and, just everything you see in the news, it's hard to find that truth. And you get to see these kids, they seek that truth in Jesus Christ and find your identity in Him.
I think the best way to be praying for me and my generation right now that I think of is praying for boldness to go evangelize and live on mission. Our church currently is doing a church-wide fast, and we're praying for the lost souls. And it's something really beautiful to do church-wide, and it's also just a reminder that our hearts should be mourning for those that are lost. And that's just such a heavy thing that we sometimes take lightly. And so just prayers for people to be saved and for the Lord to work in their hearts and soften them to be receptive to the gospel, and then just boldness in us to be those people who steward the gospel well and plant seeds.
I would agree with that. I think a way you can be praying for my generation now is boldness and also just freedom, honestly. Just so many people in my generation are just enslaved to their sin, and it's really sad to see. So that would be a really good thing to pray for. And then in the upcoming generation, honestly, just praying that the Lord be softening their hearts already and already working on their hearts. And I just would pray that my generation can be a light to them and set a good example for them. So prayers for that would be awesome.
Ways that you can be praying for us and also people are just going in college, I would say definitely boldness. Going out and, not doing the social norm of college can oftentimes be seen as hard to go outside the bubble and be different. But just prayer for boldness for us to, step out of our comfort zone and to say hey, Jesus has died for us and He has done so much for us, and we should follow Him and we shouldn't follow this world. And I think that for me, that is something I struggled with this first year, and doing evangelism really helped me. But also you you needed that boldness to do the evangelism. So I think boldness is definitely something that can be beneficial to, our generation for prayer.
Yeah. I have to agree with Gage, actually. I think one thing you can be praying for is just to have the courage to step out and just like he said, step out of those norms and be that person to share the gospel whenever other people aren't. And, going to a college with so many people and so many different backgrounds, it's definitely hard to do, but there's so much room for growth there. And we can be, one of the people to start that growth.
I think one of the biggest things, especially for incoming freshmen, just they're given a lot of freedom when they go to college, and there's two ways that you can, use that freedom. You can use it in a way that's glorifying to the Lord, or you can take your own path. And I think just prayer for them to just be able to stay rooted in their faith and just stay dependent on the Lord in that transition into college and into a lot of freedom that they're going to have, like I said, and just being able to find like really good Christian community and not growing weary when that might not happen immediately.